Difference makers. It's Kirby. Hope you're well. I'm a little bit later than usual today for a couple of reasons that I'll get into in a moment. First one being today I decided to get a haircut, and as you'll know, it's a little bit short, right? And also I noticed when I came onto the camera randomly that my hair is thinning quite a lot. I was just like, wow, that's I should start to sell this to McDonald's, this advertising space right here. But anyway, how's your day been? Hope you've been well. I wanted to tune in today and talk about goals. I mean, as we, what are we now? 6 weeks from the end of the year, which is pretty phenomenal. 6 weeks from the end of the decade, which is even more phenomenal. And I wanted to talk to you about the counterintuitive way to set your goals, because I think that for the most part, people that I talk to who teach this sort of stuff, they really don't do a very good job of it, in my opinion anyway. So I want to give you like the opposite alternative to that to see if it might help you out a bit and get you clear on where you need to go, and even help you get there a little easier with a little less stress and with a lot more enjoyment. Because I think, isn't that what we want really? If we're going to be in business, we want a bit more enjoyment. I do anyway. So if you're jumping on, say hello. If you're watching the replay, let me know where you're coming in from. It's 8:30 p.m. here in Brisbane. I don't know what time that makes it around the world. I think that makes it sometime in the morning in the US. Hi Tash, hope you're well. So I want to talk about a couple of things here, specifically around how to think about your goals, and then also a little trick that I use with all of my clients, which I think will help you a lot. I know it will help you a lot. And also, before I start, I'll just tell you what I've been up to today and why I'm on a bit late. So I had my usual morning calls, Monday morning calls with my clients, and then we had to go over to the shops to get my hair cut. And when I got home, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hang with the boys, hang with Ramiga. And Ramiga made a great suggestion. And she didn't really suggest it. She more like fired bullets at my face from a Nerf gun. And I thought, right on, it's game on. So we played a bit of Nerf Wars tonight with the boys. That was fun. I helped my daughter with her homework, which is actually pretty hopeless for me because I'm not that smart. So she's asking me these questions about science, and she knew more than me, and I was just, tempted to blag my way through, but I figured I better concede defeat or face the wrath of her teachers. So that was fun. Anyway, you got to know where your strengths are, right? And marketing and sales are my strengths. Science, not so much. So anyway, back to the task, back to the topic. Goals. So what I want to know is, first of all, how do you set your goals? I'd love to know how you currently set your goals. The standard sort of definition is the SMART acronym, which is, specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable, realistic, time-bound, all that sort of old school stuff that you've probably heard banded around a few thousand times. Now, the problem with all of those goals, all of them, the way that people set their goals normally, is that they are process goals, right? No, sorry, wrong way around. Outcome goals. That makes it completely awkward. Just spoiled the whole live stream. No, it didn't. Outcome goals. So you say, my outcome is I want to do X amount. My outcome is I want to lose some weight. My outcome is I want to do ABC, right? That's where people go wrong. If you turn it around and you say, right, let's work on some process goals, being, you know what, instead of focusing on losing 10Ks, instead of focusing on making $1 million in sales, instead of focusing on having my full client list in my calendar, what we're going to focus on instead is what are the processes that get us to the outcome. And we're going to commit to the process as the goal. Classic example of that, right? It would be so easy for me to say, hey, I'd like to go and get 10,000 people to really like what I'm saying every day. That would be an outcome goal. If I focus on the process of just going live every day and just talking about things that are interesting, that's easier for me to do, and it feels more congruent, and also it builds more momentum for you as well. All right? So what I want you to do is think about a goal that you've got now, or a goal that you've had in the past, or maybe a goal that you are thinking about for the future, whether that's for next week, next month, or even 2020 and beyond. And instead of looking at like the outcome of that, what I want you to ask yourself is this: what would I need to do in the next 7 days as a process to move me towards that outcome? All right, that's the only switch I wanted to make. And that's kind of step one in this process. Just what would be the process I would have to commit to move me towards that outcome, not outcome focused. Okay? So for example, let me break this into a couple of things. Let's say that for me, I really want to focus on my health, right? One of the hardest things for me is food. Like I really have sucked at the past looking after my diet because it's, I mean, I've got all the excuses, right? Like everyone. The kids are in the house and they've got chocolate. So guess what? Dad eats the chocolate. Dad sits down at night when the kids have gotten to bed at like 10 p.m. and I eat a bag of chips. Dad has a mate who likes to have beer. So Dad has a beer with his mate. Like all of that stuff, right? Now, I could totally beat myself up about all of that stuff. Or I could say, you know what? I'm just a human and I'm going to err on the side of caution here. And my process goal this week is that I'm going to limit junk food to sort of one junk meal per week, or I'm going to limit myself to 3 beers, whatever it is. That is much more achievable for me than saying this week I will be like full vegetarian, vegan, keto friendly, caveman diets, go to the gym 6 times. Like that's just way too intense for me, right? So I figure it's just better for me just to say, you know what, this week I'll do X, Y, and Z, process-based goals. Much more simple, and at the end of the week you just so happen to achieve it and you feel great about the fact that you've achieved it, and we're not focused on the outcome anymore. So it's a much better way to do your goal setting. All right, now here's the second part of this, and this is the most important part, and it's something that I've kind of fumbled through my explanation of this always, right? And I've never really focused on this as a teaching point, so bear with me as I explain this. When you set an outcome goal or a process goal, the thing that always stops you from achieving it usually is belief, right? So you either set your goals too low, you set them too high, whatever it might be, and then you kind of sabotage yourself as you go through because you think, who was I and kidding myself to say that I was going to be able to run a marathon? Who was I kidding myself to say that I was going to be able to have a 7-figure business? All of those things come to mind. I have like a rule that I want to share with you, and it's called the 10-10 rule, right? So you can write this stuff down. I mean, what I'm telling you tonight is not rocket science. I'm sure you've heard variants of this before, but I just want to use it as a reminder. So this rule is the 10-10 rule, and the rule is this. The first 10 is 10 out of 10 for desire. So the first question I want you to ask yourself when you're looking at the goal that you're setting is, how much do I desire this, right? If it's not a 10 out of 10, don't bother, right? You got to be committed. You got to be all in. Brendan Burchard calls this necessity in his book High Performance Habits, and it's a way of getting yourself on the hook for something, or leverage, Tony Robbins calls it. Like there's got to be desire to make this thing happen. Or if there's no desire, you're going to kind of like, I don't need to go and do that thing today. I don't need to make that call. I don't need to do that Facebook Live. Like you'll easily let yourself off the hook, all right? Second 10, so the second part of the 10-10 rule is belief, right? So the first one is desire. You've got to have maximum desire. Second one is belief. So usually when I teach this, and I've done this heaps of times in workshops around the world, but definitely around Australia, is I'll go around the room and I'll say, right, everyone write down what your sales target is for the year, for example. And then what people do is they say, yeah, I want to make X amount of sales. And I'm like, great. How much desire do you have for that? Everyone always says, yeah, absolutely. Want it 1,000,000%. I really want to do this because I want to do this because I want to take my kids to Disneyland. I want to do this because I want to put $1 million in the bank. Like whatever it is, right? Now, when I ask the second question, how much do you believe you can have that? Never, ever, or not ever, rarely, like super rare that someone will be like 10 out of 10, right? Normally people say, yeah, you know what, Kirby? 6, 7, 8, maybe a 9 if they're like super confident or arrogant, one of the two, or just don't know what the hell they're doing. And when they answer that question and it's not a 10, here's my advice. And this is why this is counterintuitive. Most people will say, set the goal massive, right? Like, reach for the moon, and if you don't hit the moon, you'll reach the stars, or whatever the old saying is. And whilst I understand that, and that's like a really noble kind of motivational stance that a lot of these people take on the stage, it doesn't work when you leave the auditorium. So, have you ever been to a seminar or an event where they're telling you to reach for the sky, right? And they're like, is that a Buzz Lightyear quote? I think it is. Reach for the sky. Anyway, you tell I got kids. Like reaching high and saying, like go for it. Set your goals higher than anyone else tells you can achieve, and, don't listen to them and all this sort of stuff, which is great when you're there and you're on that high of the seminar, and then you've got all these people around you like high-fiving you. You're like, yeah, I can break down some walls, and I can walk on some hot things and stuff like that, and break a board in half, all that stuff is great, right? And then you walk out and you get back to the real world and your kids need their nappy changed and you're tired the next morning and you feel like shit and you're like, ugh, I don't want to go to the gym today. I don't want to do the things, right? Now, what's happened? You've just lost the euphoria of the event. So it's pointless. So here's what I'm going to say is, ask yourself the 10-10 rule. Do you desire it? Yes. Do you have 10 out of 10 belief that you can achieve it? If the answer is no, and it's like 8, 7, 9, 6, whatever it is for you, take your goal that you have and lower the bar for yourself. Did I just say lower the bar? Yes, I did. Lower the bar. Here's why. You're better off to have a bite of watermelon than no watermelon at all. Stupid analogy, but it works, right? If you just take that little bite and you enjoy it and you get satisfaction from it and you're like, I did that, that's really good, I achieved it. Like, you're on this road and it ain't just a destination. So if you achieve that goal that you've set your bar lower for, guess what it does? Builds confidence, builds belief. So next time I come and ask you that question and I say, hey, how do you feel about that belief now that you've achieved this smaller goal? Likelihood is you're going to say, you know what, I feel much better about it now because I already know that I can do it. The classic thing that comes to mind when I think about this is the 4-minute mile. So a lot of you would have heard the story about Roger Bannister. There's millions of resources talking about this and motivational speakers talk about this all the time. And they talk about the fact that until Roger Bannister, I think it was in 1974, no one had run a mile in 4 minutes. And he did it. And then 10,000 people did it after him. Now what happened there? Someone just set a benchmark. That's all I'm doing for you here in this exercise is I'm saying to you, look, if you don't believe that you can do the big thing, well, what do you believe 10 out of 10 you could do? Is it like a smaller version of that? Like if I said, go run a marathon, and you're like, phew, how do you believe that? No, I'd probably need a bit of training. I'd probably die. I'd probably like have a heart attack. All right. Do you reckon you could run 5Ks? Yeah, I could run 5Ks. Do you believe that? Absolutely, I could do that tomorrow. Boom, do that. And then the next day you might say, you know what, I'm going to do 5.5. Next day, 6. Like just constantly upgrading. And eventually you'll run the marathon. That's the example of what I mean by setting a goal where it's 10 out of 10 for desire, 10 out of 10 for belief. And then most importantly, to come back to part 1 of this equation, don't set an outcome goal. Set a process goal, right? So the outcome is not make $1 million. The process is make 5 Facebook Lives a week, make an email a day, make 3 social media posts, whatever it might be. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I know I've kind of rambled on a bit as always. That just seems to be my mode of operation now. But I have fun doing these. I don't know if you pick up on that, but I'm enjoying this. And it's nice to show up and just share a bit of stuff with you guys. Also, just want to say, and I just want to acknowledge as well, if you saw my video last week where I talked about my dad and the lessons that I'd learned from my dad, that video has gone a little bit nuts. And I didn't anticipate that would happen because I was really just sharing some lessons because they were important to me. But I really appreciate the fact that you guys have taken the time to send me messages, and I've had so much love, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I love my dad, and I really think about him all the time. And to get the beautiful messages that I've had, and the beautiful words, and the kindness that I've received from you guys is just something else. And I really, really appreciate having you around and watching this. It means a lot to me because I know you could be doing lots of things at 8:44 or whatever time it is in your time zone, 10 o'clock at night for some of you, early in the morning for others. And there's lots of people vying for your attention on social media, and it just lights me up to know that you sit around here and watch me for 15 minutes talk about this stuff. And I hope you get value from it. I really do. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And I don't believe that I'm the best speaker in the world. I don't believe that I'm the most polished at presenting this stuff to you. But you know what? I enjoy sharing it, and I enjoy bringing my energy to you. And I hope that it helps you, and I hope that it inspires you in some way. Whether that's big or small, or if it just makes you think about things a bit differently. There's one thing I want to leave you with before I go, and that's something that I spoke about in my private group this morning on this topic, is the fact that you just have to give it a go, right? I don't believe that I'm in any way perfect at this stuff, but what I am doing is just showing up, right? Because I know that out there someone needs me. And I've said that if you go back, if you really want to have a good laugh, go back in my Facebook page on my videos to the very first video I did, which is sometime around 4 or 5 years ago. And it is like embarrassing. It is so bad, but I'll never ever delete it because it really demonstrates to me not only how far I've come, but that I started somewhere. And that's the same for all of us, right? We're all on this journey. And if you're sitting on the sidelines watching other people, like whether that's me or whether it's someone else, and you're kind of thinking, oh, I'd love to do this, I'd love to go and share my message. I'd love to go and just tell my story or just share something that I've learned for the day. It doesn't have to be about you going out there and monetizing it and becoming a lifetime coach and all that sort of stuff. Like, it might just be that you just share because it's a nice thing to do and it might help someone else in the world. And I just want to encourage you and ask you to think about this, about like the fact that your story matters, whatever it is. Someone out there is probably going through something right now that you have already been through, and you never know what you sharing your stuff is going to do for them. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I get messages from people saying things like, Kirby, like I've stalked you for like a year or 2 years and I've never commented on anything, but I just watch you and I like your stuff and you really inspire me. And that's great to receive. Like, that's so beautiful to know that I'm making a difference for someone. But also, I just want you to know you can make a difference too, right? And that might not be for you jumping on a Facebook Live. It might not be for you like going out there and doing emails every day like I do. But what it might be is the fact that when you walk into a building tomorrow, you just smile and you make a point of having a conversation with people, and instead of just getting in the elevator and standing around like everyone else in the elevator. Like, maybe you're the person that cracks the stupid joke. Like, maybe you're the person that says, how you going today? Because the world needs more of that right now. And I think I just want to leave you with that for tonight, because it's been on my mind, and I said it to my group this morning, and I just wanted to share it with you guys, that I know being a difference maker is not all about being a coach. Being a difference maker is about being a nice human. And whether that means, just doing something unexpected for someone, picking up the phone and talking to someone and telling them you love them, all of that counts, right? All of that is good energy, and all of that makes the world go just that little bit nicer, I think, anyway. So that's all I want to say today. That's my philosophy lesson rolled into a business lesson, rolled into a life lesson in the world of Kirby, and that's it. So I'm gonna go. It is nearly 9 p.m. I'm gonna go and hang out with my missus now, and maybe binge watch some crap on Netflix, which seems to be the way people go now. We don't get the chill part though, because we got kids. Don't know if any other parents out there empathize with this, But anyway, bad haircut, Kirby out. I'll see you tomorrow. See ya.